So today, what we're going to be talking about is we're going to be exploring the concept of security and masking sensitive data, how that is becoming more and more of a concern in the data world and especially in the streaming world, where it's quite a new place of technology. And it's surprising for people to realize that they have a lot of sensitive data going through live, but they don't know who's accessing them, and they still want to be able to offer safe access to many people without them seeing what they're not supposed to. So, with the help of Adam today and Mateos, we're going to get to explore these things and hopefully see how maybe, and just maybe, lenses could help a little bit with it. And without further ado, I'll pass it on to Adam. So, Adamos out and Adam in. All right.
Thanks so much, Adamos. I'm again your host, Adam, basically exactly like Adamos, but without the OS. So we say I'm the containerized version. Today we'll be talking about data masking and sensitive data discovery, as Adamos so kindly introed. Next week, we have a great conversation around business automation with our HTTP sync connector. So a sync connector to send an HTTP API call driven by each Kafka message, and integrations with make.com to automate your business processes using real-time data. So definitely tune into that. And then we'll be starting March off, really going in depth on local Kafka development and what we offer there with the Lenses box container. Hot topic right now, especially as we push towards GitOps and Kafka assets as code. So really excited about that conversation as well. Awesome. And we'll kick it off starting at a super high level, and then we'll drill down. As always, we like to give trends of what we're seeing in the market and then lead into tips and tricks for working with Apache Kafka and event-driven architecture. And one really common trend that we see with almost all customers and a really strong use case for Lens is this democratization of event-driven architectures, Apache Kafka, and data streaming. Whereas traditionally, we had a core central team of data engineers that maintained and managed both Apache Kafka clusters, as well as data integration workloads and event-driven architecture for Apache Kafka. As these use cases are exploding, and as those central teams are being federated out, so you have data engineers as part of the business domain groups, for both of those requirements, we're increasingly seeing the number of shareholders and people invested in real-time data exploding. So both disparate teams instead of one core central team, but also the number of individuals, both technical and even increasingly non-technical as well, invested and producing data to Apache Kafka. And this is everything from CDC connectors to replicate database, from relational databases, from event-driven architecture applications, and machine learning and AI workloads as well. So a wide variety of teams, personas, roles that are all invested in Apache Kafka within an organization and need to be able to access this information. And so the problem we help our customers resolve is how can we open up access, but do so in a secure and safe manner? And that leads our topic today, which is data masking. And so as we start to open up access to Apache Kafka and event-driven architecture, we want to make sure that we're compliant with all relevant regulatory regulations to be sure that if we're storing sensitive user information, credit card information, health information, location data, that we're doing so in an effective manner that limits access for the day-to-day developers and engineers, business analysts that are working with these data streams. But then we also need to be able to report on where this data is, how it's being stored, and the controls we have in place so that if there ever is an audit, we can respond to that. And there's really a few features within our Lenses platform that enable our customers to be able to meet these requirements and respond to these audits in an effective time frame. Whereas traditionally, if you didn't have a tool like Lenses, it would be a giant bear if your company is hit with an audit, if they have Kafka opened up to the wider group, and the only way they're interacting with Kafka is that the CLI command, well, all of a sudden they need to report back to their auditors and say exactly what kind of data they have stored in all of their topics and make sure that they know what the controls are in place. For example, if I'm at the Lenses dashboard and I have my payments topic, which stores credit card information. Let's say we have our payments topic that's storing sets of information. You would want to be able to go in and click and view that data itself, but we would want to make sure that a developer and engineer is able to view that data, work with that data flow, reset consumer offsets, deploy connectors and applications so they're producing value to their company and able to troubleshoot that data flow if there ever is an issue, but is not subject to and is able to view the actual sensitive data field within that topic. And we do this with lenses with a combination of features, one being data masking policies. So with a data masking policy, you're saying, here's my name for this policy. We're setting a redaction, so you can redact all of the fields. In email redaction, leave the first character all the way to the first four. If it's a name, we can abstract everything but the initials, including the last four, not abstract anything, but still classify, hey, this is a sensitive data field. And then we can abstract to a numerical value as well. We'll select a category, an impact type. And then with affected data sets, we're using a regex to say, search these topics. With the wildcard, we're obviously looking at every topic within our cluster. And then within those topics, we're selecting a sensitive data field, including these credit card number topics. And so with this sensitive data field blocked, then my credit card information will be abstracted. And so that's one way we help our customers out, by abstracting sensitive information with credit card number data. Then I can go over here and look for credit card number fields. Again, searching in all topics. I can easily find that by searching in schema. And then I can click on my credit card data topic and verify indeed that these credit card fields are abstracted. But I'm not prohibited from doing my job and working with this topic, syncing this data to my source and deriving value to providing value to my organization. Or if I need to troubleshoot this workflow, still capable and competent to do that, but I'm not exposed to these sensitive data fields. And we offer these data masking privacies to our customers as part of our platform. And another feature too that helps protect sensitive information, ensure that I can only view the data that's relevant to my role and position, is our user group namespaces. So namespaces is how we decide the granular access that a specific user needs. So I'm in right now my Adam Noonan account within this environment, which has carte blanche access. I'm an admin to this cluster. I can see everything. But here I have my taxi developer group. And within this, I have set my namespace to be wildcard taxi wildcard. So any topic that contains the string taxi will mean then I have these specific permissions too. And I can edit this group and add a variety number of namespaces too. So if I wanted view access to cab data, then I would go through, select that namespace, and then pick out those specific permissions and enable that here. And just to give you a quick example of how that looks from my admin account, I've got the wider topology seeing everything within this cluster. Then if I sign out and sign in to my taxi developer group and navigate to topology, it's much more restricted, and I can only view those assets relevant to my position. And now I'll call on Matthias, who's going to help explain as well the importance of data masking and group namespaces, ensuring that we're opening Kafka up safely and securely.
Thanks, Adam. Again, amazing explanation. I'm just gonna give you guys like some highlights because Adam told everything. So the whole idea is, let's put a scenario. But first, guys, of everything that Adam says, you guys have any questions, any doubts? I'll go with understanding. Okay, I'm gonna delve in some of the features, but if you guys have any questions, guys can just send in the chat. We're gonna stop and answer. So don't worry, use this time to learn as well, to really, after this session, to have knowledge that, okay, I know this work this way. So let's put like a real scenario. They'll have a customer, he make a payment, my credit card application produce data inside of my Kafka, and I have the rewards club, I have the card processor, I have payment gateways, all the applications that need that information to process the transaction of the credit card. But then I have the sales, I have the anti-fraud team, they want to access that data. I even abstract in the high level for them to understand that here they want only the data itself. But if you go to Kafka, you're gonna see bytes, you're gonna have, by default, you're gonna have access of the entire message. And then the cyber team poke on the shoulder and say, guys, what's happening? Why you guys are watching information as the CCV, for example, of the credit card or the credit card number for the sales team that has nothing to do with this. They don't know, I don't know any of this information. And for us, technical team, imagine this is the most common scenario on IT, that is, I have the same scenario of application, but my data and developer team want to develop new features, want to explore their data. And most of the time they have to backup and restore, have the data rest because they don't have access direct to Kafka because of the, again, restrictions. I had to protect the data. The laws made that, but I need to create new features. I need to understand the schema. I need to sometimes even read the data itself, but there's some information, some fields I need to obfuscate. So the whole idea for us is to use lenses this way. So everybody pass through lenses, as I say that users wise. So my data team, my developer team, my sales team, my anti-fraud team, they want to explore, they want to access the information of Kafka, they go through lenses, which I have the lenses governance. This is the name that I put here, just come out of my mind to have this idea of lenses governance. And then as my cyber team will say, okay, now it seems okay, now it seems protected. And now I'll show you guys how we're gonna do this. So far, so good. The scenario, we have the credit card information, teams need to access. I'm gonna show the data set that you see that's fully exposed. Don't worry, all the data that you guys are gonna see here is fictional, is nothing, is not real credit cards, not real anything. So don't worry. You're gonna be recorded, but don't worry. And then let's go to our lenses. So we have the lenses, we go to explore. I'm gonna access my, can be raw, just guys to have idea. And let me just do this. So I have information of credit card number. I have information of description of what happened. I have the value of transaction. I have every information. This is the transaction itself. I have two topics. One is transaction, another is the credit card itself. This is the critical one. So let me go back just because this is the most critical one. This that we have to see. Okay. Seems like it's small information, but in this one I have the account of the credit card number, expiration, the type of, and the CVV. So with this, we can make a lot of shopping with this credit card if you want to. So the whole idea is why the data and developer and the sales team has to have this access in the anti-fraud team. So as Adam says, let's go to the first approach. That is, as admin, the cyber team say, okay, Mateus, no one can access these two fields, the credit card number and the CCV. You have to bring this, but the application must not stop. That's the most important thing. So you can change the message itself. You have to change who we're going to access this message through lenses. So I go to policies, like Adam show. I say, okay, this is a credit card data. I'm gonna say all because I don't want anyone to see this both information. Let's go to more restricted one. I'm gonna say this category is why. Can create a new category. This is for us to understand which type of information they've been used as for us to catalog this. The impact is high because again, it's a high sensitive data. I can say that everybody is effective, or I can say, okay, let's put maybe for us to see this running, only the raw topics, because I'm gonna see that we have the information in both topics. And then I'm gonna see the fields. So I'm gonna say that is, let me just get the correct fields. Just a second. Again, the demo, you have everything ready, but then the window closed and then you lost, okay, the credit card number. And I want to add the CVV. I'm gonna copy to have no problems. Okay, so I create my policy. What happens now, even I'm an admin, I have full access of lenses. If I go back to explore my raw topic, so I'm gonna open up my raw topic. I'm gonna see there's no information inside. For the application, is only through lenses, so with access lenses, even if I have the highest of access, nothing, I'm not gonna see the information, the whole idea, because myself as well, why a Kafka admin had to this access, so doesn't make sense. So we obfuscate for everything, both card number and CCV. Again, only lenses. The application did not stop because the message itself on Kafka, we did touch. The whole idea is when lens is going to read that message, you're going to obfuscate these both fields, but not going to change the message itself. The message integrate is not any change, has the same message. So far, so good. Everybody, thumbs up? Okay, good. Any questions? Because if I have any questions, I can answer. I can try. I did for the raw one, but if we go to the others, for example, I go to this one, that's actually the input topic that I created. Because I specify which topic I can do. So I can, again, put some customized policies for only the topics that are going to be accessed by applications, or, for example, for the fraud team, anti-fraud team, is important for them to have the car number, but not have the CCV. One thing that I did for you guys to see what we can do lenses beside the policies is I can go to my applications. It's something that I really like to do it. I can go to the FRD application and I can create the application that uses a function mask. So besides the policy, I can create an application in SQL and I can apply a function that is CCV, the only field that I need for my fraud team to not have access, because they don't need to have access to this information, I can mask. And if I go to this topic, in this case, the message is masked. So I can unmask this. This is important to say. I really obfuscate. This is going to be, that field is only for that purpose, that topic actually. I cannot retrieve now that value on that topic itself because I use the function and I write in that topic. So if I go to the fraud, we're gonna see the actually is math CV, and the fraud team can access, okay, now I see the account number, now I can understand what happens, and the fraud team has that access to do. Again, guys, any questions so far? All
So,
good?
Matthias, what's the difference between that function that you just used to mask the data and a data masking policy?
Questions, I love questions. Yeah, amazing. The whole idea of the policy is globally. I can do for everybody and I can turn it off. The message itself is not changed, not shaped. When I use, in this case, for SQL processor, the function, this way I change the message, it's a new message. The difference is I cannot have this field again unmasked. But if I just, okay, I'm gonna change my policy, I want to remove that field for everybody to see, I can just change and everybody can see that field. We can see that this way. Let me just do this. If I go in, okay, let's change this one. For the raw, we can go here. And now the card number has been appeared. If I do this, I cannot do this on the function that I write in a new topic. That's the main difference between them. What I usually do is I give this mask topic that I write the topic itself for developer team, because they need to know the same schema. They need to have the schema, but they need to know the information itself. So we can mask information, the same schema message for them to develop new features, for example. There's one of the strategies that we can use for this, which lets us make it completely easy to do it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. I think we have a question. Hari, are you able to come online and share your question with us?
Yeah, it is only restricts, right? It is only restrict SQL, right? I mean, SQL, which is used by the lenses. So some other, it not related to the ACLs or RBank, which is we are given for in cluster side, right? So They can use a console consumer, they can use any APIs to consume, or they can view that, right?
Yeah, I think so. It depends on what you're using there. If you're using the data masking policy, we're leaving the actual field data unencrypted. But if you access that field via lenses, either via our API, CLI, or user interface, you're not going to have access to the full amount of data. With the masking function that Matthias showed, we are actually changing the underlying message value and encrypting or masking or redacting that data itself. And if you connect directly to the Kafka broker and consume that message, you will receive a redacted actual data field. Whereas with the data masking policy, you can consume that sensitive information directly from Kafka without any abstraction.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think it's the idea of trying to encourage developers to use lenses to view data, because if you also provide other tooling, they can bypass that governance.
You need to have an environment, a protected environment that you can work with. That's what Lenses offers, the development environment, so they can work safely with shaping the working with the data that you want. So that's, yeah, correct. That's the whole idea to use Lenses. I always say the Lenses just to be like a layer of access of Kafka.
Yeah, got it. Thanks.
Great question. So that's how we can protect sensitive information from the day-to-day jobs of the developers who are working with these data flows and engineers and analysts. When it comes time to respond to an audit and say, this is exactly where I have sensitive information, and these are the controls I have in place to protect that, we also provide some features to help out when it's crunch time. Top of mind for me when we're talking about sensitive data discovery would be our metadata system, specifically tagging. So you can tag topics and say, hey, this topic contains fraud information. And then we make it really easy in the Lenses UI to navigate directly to all of those topics that are tagged with fraud. And we can do the same thing with personal identifying information. And I have all of that accessible right here. That combination of our tagging system for quickly finding sensitive information, combined with our SQL Studio, gives your teams the ability to quickly navigate to all of the topics and data stores where we're storing sensitive information, and then able to report on those actual messages themselves and show those values. So I could say select all credit card number fields from credit card data, and I get all of those returned right here along with my Kafka message metadata. That way, I'm able to quickly respond once I get pinged by my compliance officer and say, here is exactly all my sensitive data fields. Here's the messages they're in, and here's the masking policy I have in place to protect this information. Any questions here or any flavor you'd like to add, Guillaume, before we come to close?
Yeah, I think we forgot to mention about, so if we go into the data policy, let's go into the credit card data policy. You can reverse it, right? If that scenario that Adam talked about, if you just close that for a second, it could be you've got an audit and you've got 24 hours to report on all the topics and all the applications that are processing, that have credit card information or processing information. And that data policy not only masks the data, but it also discovers the data. So this is a list of all the topics. And if we scroll down to the bottom, and all the applications that are processing the detected flows there, or the applications that are processing credit card information. If we click on the SQL processor, for example, or one of the connectors, the cluster production. Sorry, if we go back. No, sorry, the cluster. Yeah, go back to the data policies. The cluster product. Yeah, this is a Kafka Connect connector. There'll be a Kafka Connect connector that is processing sensitive information. So this can save weeks, if not months, of time of an audit. And it doesn't necessarily just have to be sensitive data. It could be that you've got 5,000 topics and you want to know all the topics that have pricing information. So you create a data policy that looks for pricing and it will list all the topics with pricing information. So it's a super flexible and powerful feature.
Great point of emphasis. Thanks for that, Guillaume. And with that, we'll wrap up on data masking policies, protecting sensitive information, responding to audits, and discovering sensitive data fields. That's all the value that we provide with the Lenses platform. If you have any questions about what we presented today, any regulatory compliance requirement that you're working through right now, definitely join our Slack community. You can reach the entire team there. Huge shout out to Adamos, Guillaume, and Matthias for helping out with the session today. Be sure to tune in same time next week. We'll be talking about automating business processes with the HTTP sync connector and our partnership with make.com.